The announcement shook the world. Interpol had issued a red notice for Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the 36-year-old leader of Burkina Faso. It was supposed to be a quiet move, a technical notice that would circulate through police agencies, restricting his travel and painting him as a fugitive in the eyes of the international community. For Western capitals, this was meant to be a checkmate, a single document that could discredit him and lock him into a corner. But the story didn't unfold that way. Instead of submission, the red notice triggered an eruption. The warrant meant to capture Traoré turned him into something larger, a symbol of defiance. Crowds in Ouagadougou poured into the streets almost instantly. Women wrapped in Burkina Faso's red, green, and gold waved banners with his name. Youths carried hand-painted signs. Africa bows to no one. Traoré speaks for us. It didn't look like fear. It looked like a revolution finding its voice, and across the continent, in Mali, Niger, Senegal, Nigeria, South Africa, the reaction was the same: laughter, disbelief, and fury. Many Africans asked, who does Interpol really serve, justice or power? According to Reuters, Interpol insists that red notices are apolitical, a request to locate and provisionally arrest an individual pending extradition. But critics have long argued they are sometimes abused, used by powerful states not to catch criminals, but to silence political opponents. In this case, the timing spoke volumes. Traoré had already expelled French troops from Burkina Faso, suspended military ties with the United States, strengthened ties with Russia and China, declared that Burkina Faso's gold, oil, and uranium were for Burkinabe people only. For the West, this was dangerous. A young leader, charismatic, unapologetic, and unafraid. If his model spread, it could topple decades of Western dominance in Africa. So when Interpol's notice dropped, few in Africa saw it as justice. They saw it as revenge. On the very night the red notice was made public, Independence Square in Ouagadougou filled with thousands. Drone footage captured seas of people waving torches, chanting Traoré's name. One elderly man told Reuters, "If they arrest him, they arrest all of us." The images spread online. Videos flooded TikTok, X, and WhatsApp groups across Africa, each carrying the same message. They want to silence Traoré. We will not allow it. In Mali, state TV interrupted broadcasts to replay footage of Traoré giving fiery speeches. In Niger, crowds gathered outside French installations, chanting, "Leave our land!" And in South Africa, student groups issued statements declaring solidarity. Within days, hashtags like Traoré Arrest Me Too, Africa Rising, and neo-colonialism were trending continent-wide. The more Interpol pushed, the more unstoppable the movement felt. To many Africans, the warrant carried an echo of history. For centuries, leaders who resisted colonial domination had been branded as criminals, rebels, or terrorists. Patrice Lumumba in Congo, Thomas Sankara, ironically, from the same Burkina Faso, who was assassinated in 1987 after demanding that Africa reject foreign debt. Now, Ibrahim Traoré. The parallels were impossible to ignore. As The Guardian once reported, Africa's leaders who challenge foreign control often face the same fate: isolation, coup, or death. But this time, something was different. This time, the people were watching in real time. With social media and Pan-African networks, every move against Traoré became fuel for resistance. The backlash wasn't just on the streets. The alliance of Sahel states, the military coalition of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, issued a joint declaration condemning the warrant as an attack on African sovereignty. According to Reuters, officials argued that selective justice has no place in Africa. Even leaders far beyond West Africa joined the chorus. Ethiopian commentators warned of global lawfare being waged against rising African nations. South African politicians openly mocked Interpol, saying it was fast to issue a notice against Africans, slow to act on Western war crimes. The African Union, often accused of being toothless, was suddenly forced to debate the legitimacy of Interpol itself. Could Africa continue to participate in an institution many now viewed as compromised? The question had no easy answer. But the very fact it was being asked was revolutionary. Then came Traoré's response. Standing on a balcony before tens of thousands in Ouagadougou, he lifted the microphone and let his words cut through the air. If they want to arrest me, let them come. But they will not arrest the will of Africa. They will not arrest our gold. They will not arrest our oil. They will not arrest our uranium. They will not arrest our sovereignty. The crowd roared back like thunder. His speech went viral overnight, drawing millions of views. International outlets covered it reluctantly, but clips spread far beyond Africa's borders. For supporters, Traoré wasn't just speaking for Burkina Faso. He was speaking for every African nation tired of being dictated to. Behind closed doors, Western officials began to panic. A red notice is not technically an international arrest warrant. It's a request for cooperation. But in this case, the symbolism was enormous, and the symbolism was collapsing on them. Instead of isolating Traoré, the warrant boosted his stature. Instead of shaming him, it crowned him as a freedom fighter. Diplomats whispered of unintended consequences. Think tanks in Washington warned that the attempt to neutralize him had backfired spectacularly. In Paris, some politicians privately admitted it might have been a mistake, strengthening anti-French sentiment even more. According to Reuters, Burkina Faso was already deepening ties with Russia and China. Moscow offered additional security guarantees. Beijing reaffirmed multi-billion-dollar investments in infrastructure and mining. The West's attempt to cut him off had only driven him deeper into rival alliances. What made this moment explosive was that it wasn't just about Traoré. It was about the future of Africa itself. For decades, institutions like the IMF, World Bank, and Interpol have claimed neutrality, yet their decisions often align with Western interests. In African eyes, the warrant proved once again that sovereignty was tolerated only until it clashed with global power. But this time, Africa seemed ready to push back. This time, the fire was spreading faster than control could contain. As weeks passed, the red notice remained in place, but its power seemed to fade. Traoré continued to appear at rallies, continued to govern, continued to be celebrated. In Burkina Faso, murals of his face began appearing on walls, painted beside Thomas Sankara, Nelson Mandela, and Kwame Nkrumah. In Nigeria, hip-hop tracks sampled his speeches. In Ghana, university students debated whether Traoré represented the second wave of African independence. What was meant to discredit him was instead mythologizing him. And so, the haunting question remains: what now, if sanctions cannot silence him? If red notices cannot stop him? If pressure only strengthens him? What tools are left for those who once dictated Africa's fate? For now, Traoré walks free, not just as a head of state, but as a symbol of a continent unchained. And somewhere, in the quiet corridors of power, officials are asking themselves, did we just create Africa's unbreakable hero? Because history has a cruel sense of irony. Sometimes, the more you try to bury a man, the more you end up planting a legend. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.